Put simply, those who vote yes on this vote believe that our nation's health care systems needs reforming, and they are ready to have an honest and open debate on the floor of the United States Senate about how to best achieve that reform. I'm not afraid of that debate, nor am I afraid of coming before this body to say what I believe is the most important thing we can do to reform health care in this country. I hope none of us are. Our country needs us too desperately now to be making good decisions and moving forward. I will not allow my decision on this vote to be dictated by pressure from my political opponents, nor the liberal interest groups from outside Arkansas that threaten me with their money and their political opposition. The multitudes of emails and ads that we have received, unbelievable types of threats about what they're going to do and how they're going to behave. The fact is, Madam President, I am serious about changing our health care system, as most Arkansans and most Americans are. I am not with those who seek to avoid the debate, nor with those who use political attacks to achieve their narrow goals. I will vote in support of cloture on the motion to proceed to this bill. But, Madam President, let me be perfectly clear. I am opposed to a new government-administered health care plan as a part of comprehensive health insurance reform, and I will not vote in favor of the proposal that has been introduced by Leader Reid as it is written. I, along with others, expect to have legitimate opportunities to influence the health care reform legislation that is voted on by the Senate later this year or early next year. I am also aware that there will be additional procedural votes to move this process forward that will require 60 votes prior to conclusion of the floor debate. I've already alerted the leader, and I'm promising my colleagues that I'm prepared to vote against moving to the next stage of consideration as long as a government-run public option is included. The public option as a part of health insurance reform has attracted far more attention than it deserves. While cost projections show that it may reduce costs somewhat, those projections don't take into account who pays if it fails to live up to expectations. If, in fact, premiums don't cover the cost of the public plan, it is taxpayers in this country who are faced with the burden of bailing it out. Madam President, our colleagues, we simply cannot ignore the growth in the federal government since the year 2000. I can assure you that the American people have not ignored it. According to the American Institute for Economic Research, government spending grew by 55% under President Bush. And as he was leaving office, government launched a massive bailout of Wall Street. Then, it was the domestic auto manufacturing industry that needed taxpayer funds to survive. And finally, in order to revive a dying economy, it took a government economic recovery package to save or create hundreds of thousands of jobs. Madam President, we can argue about the necessity of these unprecedented steps, but we need not argue about the impression they have made on the American people. We should be stopping the growth of government, not expanding it more. Without the public option, we can still force private insurance plans that participate in the exchanges to provide standard benefit packages that are easy to compare and more fairly priced. We will be bringing millions of new customers to the exchanges, so insurers should be motivated to lower their prices and be competitive. I've appreciated the dialogue with Leader Reid regarding my concerns that remain about this bill, and I look forward to continuing that dialogue on improvements that I feel like are necessary in order to meet the challenge. I'll be asking my colleagues to consider these additional important changes that I believe will improve our chances for real health insurance reform that can also enjoy the support of most Arkansans and I believe most Americans. Some of these include that the legislation remain deficit neutral now and in the future and curbs future cost, that it protects Medicare beneficiaries for seniors and extends solvency of the Medicare program, that it improve accessibility and affordability of health insurance for employees and owners of small businesses and the self-employed through access to health insurance exchanges and tax credits, that it enhance choice and competition of health insurance plans for small businesses and individuals without the inclusion of a government-run public option, and, Madam President, that it build our nation's health care workforce and ensure continued access to quality health care providers, especially in rural America. Today, I know that I will ultimately be held accountable by my constituents in Arkansas for my votes, all of my votes, on health care. Not the National Republican Senatorial Committee, not by other groups from outside my state that continue to engage in the conversation that they have begun. I know that my decision to support the upcoming cloture vote on the motion to proceed is not my last nor only chance to have an impact on health care reform. In conclusion, Madam President, I am optimistic and encouraged about the step we are preparing to take in the Senate to amend and craft a bill that will improve access to quality, affordable coverage options for the residents and businesses of my state who desperately need relief. A bill that improves the quality and efficiency with which we deliver health care in America, all without adding to our nation's deficit and while lowering the cost of health care over the long term. I am committed to using every power of my office to achieve success on this issue by enacting needed reforms that will benefit the people of Arkansas and our nation. I've spent the last several months in a passionate dialogue with my constituents about health care reform. It wasn't just town hall meetings where I heard from Arkansans. I've heard hundreds of conversations with many of them in groups and one-on-one conversations. They may not be in agreement about solutions, but I can assure my colleagues that each Arkansan I speak with and I speak to expects us to roll up our sleeves and get this right. We can. Following the vote tonight, the bill that will be laid before us will not be the only possible solution. I know that my decision to support the cloture vote on the motion to proceed, again, is not my last or only chance to have an impact on overall health care reform, and my strongest hope is that each of us in this body, Madam President, can lay political fortunes aside and make the tough, common sense choices that our constituents expect of us. Whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, look at what we face in the challenges of our nation and make sure that as we are working towards an end result, that each of us is working as hard as we can to come up with the pragmatic solutions that our constituents expect of us. We may not get this opportunity again in our lifetime. Today, Madam President, I'm thinking about the Arkansas working family that can't pay their mortgage because their sick child's medical bills. I'm thinking of the Arkansas small business owner who told me that more than 20% of the cost of running his business now goes to health insurance for him and his workers. And I'm thinking about the 450,000 Arkansans who have no health insurance. I'm not thinking about my reelection, the legacy of a president, or whether Democrats or Republicans are going to be able to claim victory in winning this debate. I hope all of my colleagues join me in looking forward to working with the leader and all of our colleagues in the days and weeks ahead as we strive to solve a problem whose solution is long overdue. Thank you, Madam President, and I yield the floor.